Good morning, everybody. Michelle is here. Michelle is here on January the 26th, 2026, and it's a Monday. Wow, Monday. Oh, sorry about the sniffles and sniffling. I'm doing some things inside my place here, to keep things clean and tidy. So now it's kind of going up my nose. So I just want to come on through this morning and talk about something that's very, very, very important. It's so important that it can derail a lot of hopes and dreams of other people, hopes and dreams of myself, possibly not, because we when I say we, our humanity has a history of behaviors and actions, and we also have a history of pretending. I told you a lot of people know how to pretend. They know how to create fake personas. I talked about this man back in the day, whereas he was an oratory type. He was charming, charismatic. Some people may thought he was good looking, which I did not. I find nothing good looking about this particular man. But irregardless of that, he dressed nice, he smelled nice, he knew how to walk that talk, talk to certain people in a certain way, and knew how to essentially manipulate them. And that describes a whole series of videos I've done on narcissistic, sociopaths, psychopaths, clerics, these oratory types that are they speak very eloquently. They know how to draw in a crowd. They know how to, they love, absolutely obsessively love attention. Okay, they love it. It's what gives them a reason to breathe, I guess. But deep within those particular type of performers, the great pretenders. Let me see because I knew there was a song, The Great Pretenders, but I don't know what that song was about, because that was in the 60s. Let me see. Oh, I got to get another cell phone stand because it's hard for me to type and hold a cell phone. So I'm going to look up something real quick. Yeah, this has been commercialized to the hilt, and that's the whole idea. To have certain words lose their meaning. That's why you need to be versatile and knowing how to navigate around words, because a lot of these words that we've used habitually and ritually are disappearing or being twisted into another meaning, to mean something else. So that's why I say you need to have some parables in your language, metaphors, some figuratively, not just literal, but be able to, what you want, you want to have that kind of craft of communicating with people. Even though I have a speech impediment, throughout my years, a lot of people have understood me regardless. And so that's because I knew how to, because I remember I used to read a lot, and I wanted to change up my vocabulary so that I could, if I couldn't pronounce a certain word, I immediately had another word to counter, a synonym or something to keep the meaning of what I was attempting to, disseminate. So this word, great pretenders, it's commercialized to the hilt. So the meaning is, essentially lost. And that's the whole idea. That's the whole idea. And I hope a lot of you understand this, is to strip these words of meaning, but we are still, because we don't want to elevate our language and elevate how we speak. We just want to keep it going. That's why spirit really is meaningless now. Spirit is meaningless. What is it? What is spirit? See, and if you attempt to figure it out, the meanings go all over the place. So every word, so it's hard to get proper definitions. So we have this I sense an epidemic of pretenders, especially in light of the social media platforms. We have people who are, another word that I hate using it, but a lot of people call them false prophets. So consider false prophets elevated to what it is now. False prophets are, a lot of them are these false influencers, the same kind of people, okay, with the habit of being attempting to be more than they are. The great pretenders, the false prophets. So there was a song written back in the 1955s by the Platters with the Great Pretender. And I just want to give a shout out to them. I'm sure, but then everybody else just came in and just took over the word. And we know who these people are. But this group originally put this song out, and I want to find the meaning of what they meant by that. Okay. So I notice a lot of this pretending, false personas are out there, giving all of us the illusion that they are in support of our, and when I say our, listen to me, mostly this is exclusively for women, biological women, biological men. I mean, what I've noticed actually is coming from all walks of life, this great pretending that you care about transgenders when you know you don't. You know that transgenders that are transgenderness or ism is a commodity. So you got people out there pretending that they care about these people. They can care less about these people. I have universal love for everyone, but I want people to snap out of it and understand who they are, what they are, and why they are, and how they're putting their lives in danger because they don't know who they are, what they are, and why they are. I told you, take a course in biology and just reconstruct yourself from the ground up. No one has to know, and find out who you are. Are you a great pretender? So, and then again, people are on board claiming they are against this regime that we have, this dictatorship administration that's happening all over the world. We have people claiming that they are against that. A lot of people claiming that they care about these people who are being murdered or unalived, live on television. This kind of stuff back in the day was never broadcast as it is now. But everybody's great pretenders. They're trying to grab a hold of all this attention. These 10 billion people that could be their piggy bank. I told you they're trying to contain people. Like someone said, and they probably don't know the implications of what they said. They said, hey, don't attempt to speak to the masses. Just speak to your followers. That could be a problem, because you don't want to tell people that. You want people to make that decision on their own, who they want to follow, who they want to listen to, because that's a recipe for a cult. Okay, so, so yeah, this is what's happening. I see the great pretenders coming through, which are nothing more, nothing less than they're just regurgitating what someone else has said. Maybe because they know we're not reading a goddamn thing. That bothers me, because you have to self-educate yourself, or you're just going to go along with the floods, literally, figuratively, and metaphorically. What's everybody talking about? Well, they're talking about these ICE agents, which are nothing more, nothing less than great pretenders too. A lot of them are probably they could not make it as a local police, or in other words, they were not hired by local police departments, state police department. Some of them may have been kicked out of the military. Something happens to someone when they have a damaged, underdeveloped consciousness, whereas they are pretending to have empathy, pretending to have some compassion, and pretending to care, and pretending to be supportive of black women, pretending to be supportive of biological women in general, when they secretly hate them, and if they have the opportunity, they would harm them. Okay, that is what's happening. So I'm picking that up. I noticed it. You know why? Because it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all smoke and mirrors, and nothing has changed about the current administration. What is anyone doing against him? Marching is expired. Okay, marching around the country for this particular regime, this particular administration, when we ought to have been doing this decades upon decades ago, has expired. Okay, the Black American Civil Rights Movement set the blueprint for that, and even those efforts were done, I think, sometimes in vain, because we lost people during that time who were spearheading that. And that's why it's so important that you do not just rely on one person. It has to be a movement, a literal movement, not marching in the streets and putting up signs. Who are you doing that for? Okay, I don't have a television, so how, have you considered that? A lot of you are not being creative at all. You're just regurgitating, and building likes, building followers, looking to contain people. That way you can control them. And then what? Okay, exploit them. So I've noticed that, and I because something happened to a particular influencer, whereas this influencer has a good amount of followers and followings, and people like their material, and blah 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 blah, just like millions and billions of us. But then you have these predators that sniff around, then look for content to steal, and claim it belongs to them. Because look, this is what has happened, and I told you that it was going to happen. A lot of people have gotten themselves dependent on followers. They've gotten themselves dependent on likes. And that's how they make their bread and butter. So the more they can pretend and create these false personas of themselves, So in other words, just picture this. I have 1,000 followers. That's just an example. But they have millions of followers. Who's more hungry? Okay? So these great pretenders have to believe that they are, because a lot of them are not creative. That's obvious. Creators, genuine, actual, bona fide creators, they set the, they do the groundwork. They do the groundwork. They build, they have these, and they'll create even if they were not paid for it. And that's how these predators know that. They know that. Infiltrating certain groups, pretending that you like certain types of music, like pretending that you like certain type of movies, pretending that you care about certain groups of people. It's a commodity-driven intention. Okay? So I found something here. I don't know. I don't know if this. I don't know who came up with this. Okay, so they appear to be giving the platters the recognition for the song, but it says here explores themes of emotional pain and loneliness, where the narrator hides their true feelings behind a facade of happiness. Oh my goodness, that says it right there. Explores the themes. Explore themes of emotional pain and loneliness, where the narrator, the influencer, the false persona hides their true feelings behind a facade of happiness. Okay, it reflects the struggle or pretending to be fine while dealing with heartache and loss. Wow, that's a great meaning. Okay, they are giving credit to the Platters for that, a group that created this song, or who performed the song back in the 1955s. The Great Pretenders. And because, as I said, nothing has changed in thousands of years in relation to how we can get past war, how we can get past genocide, how we can get past, cruelty. If you do a research, it hasn't changed. And what we've been told, it's been 10,000 years if we've been in a war. I mean, it may have been 10,000 years out of a million when we were not in war. But as far as this country is concerned, the United States of America, we've been in war for centuries, thousands of years. Let's go 2,200. Let's go 2,026 years. During Moses. Remember Moses? Okay, so I'm picking that up. It's just more easily hidden because everything is disappearing from online. You can't really research and find stuff. So you have to do your own backup if you can. A lot of you put stuff in the clouds, which is going to disappear just like a cloud. And that's the whole intention as well, to hold on to your documents and hold on to your data. For me, I've done the best I can to save and document my material. But, once you go on these platforms, the language is changing. They can do whatever they want with your data. And if you think about that, that can be extremely creative, by the way. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit more later. I just want to get my day going. But yes, we have a influx now of great pretenders. Okay, in order for them to ease their emotional pain and loneliness, they're gonna go out and pretend that they are, and it happens. Listen, it happens with preachers, pastors, CEOs, leaders, I mean, it touches all walks of life, especially those, as I told you, that are constantly in the public eye. You get all these creative people. Let's say we're in a fishbowl again. You have all these creative people at the bottom. They enjoy their creativity. They're not necessarily being recognized until somebody does a search. Because in that fishbowl, the creators are being pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed down to elevate somebody else to do the dirty deeds, to do the infiltration, to do the pretending that they care about people, pretending that they want equal rights, pretending they want everything to be fair and spread out throughout for everybody. It's an opportunity to ease their loneliness, ease their burdens, and so they're sucking and draining the blood from, literally, figuratively and metaphorically, from others who put in the work. And as I said, they're not necessarily, they just want to have credit for what they've done and be reasonably compensated. And people in these great pretenders usually, have no reason to be pretenders, but they are, because they know that they are nothing more, nothing less than a false persona. They don't know who they are, what they are, why they are. So that's why they're bleeding and draining and sucking the blood of everybody else, literally, figuratively, metaphorically. Do your research as best you can, but most importantly, just trust yourself, trust your instincts, and learn how to read between the lines. There has to be a result. The math has to add up. Okay, so I'm going to stop right now and finish up with the beginning of my day. But trust me, I will be back.